Meeting called to order. Please stand for the salute to the flag. And Freeholder Johnson, will you please lead us in the salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley. David. Freeholder Bobadilla, absent. Freeholder Clark, absent. Freeholder Gill.
Here.
Freeholder Johnson.
Present.
Freeholder Luciano.
Here.
Freeholder Owens.
Wait till we get.
Freeholder Vice President Sebo, absent. Freeholder President Watson.
Present. I have before me, Madam Clerk, the certification that this meeting is in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, are there any topics of discussion?
Madam President, there are none.
Okay. There are, Madam Clerk, there are no items for action on tonight's agenda. Is that,
We have the added starters.
we have the added starters, so with the exception of the added starters. So if there's any member of the public who would like to comment on any issue, please come to the microphone, state your name and affiliation, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Just come to the microphone. State your name and affiliation, please, and again, you have 3 minutes to speak.
My name is Taki, and I was going to say that I feel disgusted with the way Weekway Park looked, and also the Essex County Court, the criminal side. I'm disgusted with the water fountain. They don't have no working water fountains over there, and they didn't even clean the place out. And it's been like that for decades. And I went over into Union County Court, and they have working water fountains over there. And also in the Weekway Park too, the water fountains don't work over there. And the little porta potties they got in there, it look nasty too. They need to get somebody over there clean up. And they got it's a flood right there too. I guess the lake was running over, and when you drive into that little entrance, you gotta ride your car through a puddle, and they haven't done anything about it yet. And then I went to Verona. Verona Park looked nice. Maplewood Park looked nice. Even Washington Park looked nice. But the parks down in the urban areas, they look disgusting. They need to do something to fix them up, and they need to get those water fountains working over there in the court building. That's it.
Okay, thank you for your comments, we normally don't respond to our residents when they're at the mic, but we will respond to you if you have any questions that you would like for us to respond to on your concerns. We will do so within the next week. And thank you again for your comments. Do we have anyone else from the public who would like to speak? Please come to the microphone. Okay, Madam Clerk, let's move. There's no additional persons wishing to speak at this time. Let's move to ordinance on second reading, and it's listing only O-2014-00006 and O-2014-00007, and let's move to ordinance on first reading. And Mr. Scialla, please explain ordinance number 1.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the County of Essex, New Jersey, the Essex County Improvement Authority, requesting not to exceed $68 million in project consolidation revenue refunding bonds, Series 2014, for the purpose of providing additional security, therefore determining. I have Mr. Paganelli from the ECIA and Mark Acker, our treasurer, that can explain this if the board has any additional questions on this refinance.
Okay, Mr. McInerney, do you have any questions or comments?
Well, I do. I have had conversations today with Mr. Paganelli and Mr. Acker. They sent me some information, and if they want to present it, then I can make my comments afterwards.
Very good, thank you. Mr. Polyvecchio, any comments, questions?
No, not at this point. I just wanted to hear the presentation, if I could.
Okay, freeholders, question, comments on ordinance number 1? Oh, okay, Mr. Paganelli, you're going to make your presentation now? Okay, let's hear from you.
James Paganelli, Executive Director of the Essex County Improvement Authority. I'm just here with Mr. Ackerman to answer any questions. We both did reach out to Mr. McInerney and had conversations. It's an Improvement Authority refunding. We're refunding both county bonds and Improvement Authority airport bonds. It's saving a substantial amount of money, over $9 million for the county and about $200,000 for the Improvement Authority. So we're here to get some action on these so that we can save taxpayers some dollars.
Okay, would you want, Mr. Acker, do you have any additional comments at this time? And then I'll call on Mr. McInerney.
Mark Acker, I'm the Director of the Department of Administration and Finance. No, Jim explained it perfectly.
Okay, very good. Now, Mr. McInerney?
Thank you, Madam President. This is a refunding that provides a significant savings. Normally, in refundings, we look to at the 3% present value, and sometimes that's the present value is what gets us over the hump to qualify for a refunding. In this case, we are looking at significant savings from 2014 to 2022 in the amount of $9,562,000 in total savings to the county over that period of time. What's been worked out here by the gentleman behind me and their advisors is a very even realization of those savings. As a matter of fact, in 2014, we'll only save $216,000, but thereafter, we will be saving more than somewhere between $1,250,000 and $1,273,000 each year. So this is an excellent way to reduce our debt service budget. It's an excellent way to keep our costs under control, and I commend the administration for keeping their eyes on those bonds that qualify. You have to look at the market. Our advisors look at the market. They come to us sometimes and say, look, here's a group of bonds that we believe can be refinanced at a substantially lower rate. And as I said before, we've seen bond ordinances done to save $500,000. Here we're looking at somewhere very close to $10 million. So this is a very big, it's a very big thing and a very big saving. So
Very
I
good.
congratulate the administration on putting this forward.
Mr. Polavecchio, your additional questions at this time?
No, I don't, Madam President.
Okay. Freeholders, do we have any questions or comments? No questions, no additional. Mr.
Right.
McInerney?
The only thing I would ask, if they could provide the board with any other costs that are going to, cost of issuance that are going to be associated with this, whatever fees are involved to the underwriters or our advisory, just to give us some idea by the next meeting as to what the cost of issuance are, if we could have that in detail by vendor.
Okay, very good. Mr. Paganelli, do you, the request coming from Mr. McInerney? Okay.
Madam President, through you, tomorrow we'll deliver to the board through your offices the application for local finance that has all those fees broken out by vendor. If there's any further questions, we'll answer them thereafter.
And if I may ask
Continue.
one more question. It's only, the smaller refunding is the ECIA refunding, correct? So in other words, any reduction in administration costs charged by the ECIA to the county are only applicable to that smaller issue?
I'm missing the Madam President, through you, the Improvement Authority gets an administrative fee to do the county financing. It's taking a fee on the county end of it. It's not taking a fee on its own airport bond, if that's the question.
No, okay, understood. So this is strictly yours. The other ones don't carry an administrative fee with the ECIA. These are our bonds, correct?
And they do carry, no, the whole deal is an Improvement Authority bonds.
Right.
Part of it is the airport, which the Improvement Authority owns and operates. We don't take a fee on any of those financings.
Okay, so then not only will we have a reduction, I'm assuming a reduction in the actual debt service, annual debt service payment, will we see a reduction in the cost to the county for administrative fees to the ECIA? because
No, I would say they'll be the same.
Okay. All right, thank you very
Very
much.
good.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Sounds good. Okay, Freeholder Owens.
I'd just like to say that I think Barbara Bell Coleman is a great choice for the outstanding work she's done in our community for many years. And I'm happy that what we're doing here is a great thing, I think, for this county.
Okay, the comments that Freeholder Ordinance is making is on the ordinance that we listed. Yes. So we make sure his comments are there for that ordinance. Any additional comments, questions, Freeholders, on ordinance number 1? None? Okay, Madam Clerk, please list it, and let's move to ordinance number 2. Mr. Scialla.
Yes, Madam President, this is a second opportunity for refunding. Again, Mr. Paganelli and Mr. Acker are present. I believe this one is a much less dollar savings over the refinancing, but I'll leave that to Mr. Paganelli and Mr. Acker.
Okay, Mr. Paganelli.
Madam President, once again, I'm not the most careful reader, but it's James Paganelli from the ECIA, Executive Director. 1 through 3 are all the same items that we've been discussing. I should have broken out my little spiel for each one of them, but they're all the same transaction. It's a $70 million overall transaction.
Okay. Mr. McInerney?
As he
No,
said,
it's the
we
same.
already addressed all.
Okay. All right. That would also be for ordinance number 3?
Ordinance number 3 is kind
It's
of...
a little different, right?
No, it's the paperwork that's
It's still the
required
paperwork, that's right.
in order to get
That's
it.
right. Okay, so we're talking about, let me take one at a time so I so I'll be able to get a vote on that, because this is an ordinance on first reading, and I'm saying second reading. Yeah, left it. This is the ordinance on second reading?
First reading.
First reading.
Correct.
Yeah, this is ordinance 2 on first reading, okay? I just want to make sure we all together, so we'll take them separate. We talked about ordinance number 2, and Mr. McInerney, you have no additional questions. Mr. Polyvecchio, no questions?
No.
Okay, comments, questions, Freeholders? Questions, comments, Freeholders? And we are on ordinance number 2, and again, first reading. No questions, no comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, please list it, and let's move to ordinance number 3. Mr. Scialla.
Yes, Madam President. Ordinance 3 pretty much go along with resolutions, ordinances 1 and 2. This is the actual paperwork to do the refinancing. It's all part of the same refinancing deal for the Essex County Improvement Authority that Mr. Paganelli and Mr. Acker spoke about. This is just the paperwork to do the refinance.
Okay, Mr. Paganelli, you want to just additional comments on ordinance number 3?
Madam
It's
President.
the same, you said, just the paperwork?
James Paganelli from the Essex County Improvement Authority, that's correct. 1 and 2 are the guarantee ordinances. 3, there's some leases involved, things like that, paperwork things that are really wrapped up in number 3.
Okay. Again, Mr. McInerney, you any additional comments on ordinance number 3? Freeholders? No. Mr. Polyvecchio, any additional comments?
No, not in addition. Not in
Okay.
addition to that.
All right, Freeholders, questions, comments? We are on ordinance number 3. No additional comments, no questions? Okay, Madam Clerk, please list it, and let's move to resolution number 1. And Mr. Scialla.
Yes, Madam President. This is out of the Superintendent of Elections, Commissioner of Registrations, contract with Dominion Voting Systems to provide for maintenance repairs, including parts and software licensing for the election management system, amount not to exceed $115,000. This is a proprietary maintenance, repair, programming, and license renewal services as required to maintain and repair our voting machines. We do have the superintendent with us this evening, Ms. Kathy Sumter, if there's any additional questions the board may have.
Okay, while Ms. Sumter is coming to the microphone, Madam Clerk, Freeholder Bobadilla and Freeholder Clark is present. Your name for the record, please, and the title.
Good evening, Kathy B. Sumter from the Superintendent of Elections Office, Commissioner of Registration.
Okay, we've heard the explanation on this resolution from Mr. Shiella. Freeholders, do you have any questions? Freeholder Gill.
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you for taking the time to appear today. My question in regards to this contract now is pertaining to the election that just passed and what this contract now would be covering. It was explained to us at the prior meeting that this contract was needed in order to cover potential repairs of the machines for the municipal elections that just passed within the county.
It is a license to program.
Could you speak right in the mic for me, please? Thank you.
This license is for programming every election. May it be school board, municipal, primary, general. They have the patent, they are the owners of the license, and we use their program to program the cartridges, the cassettes that go in the voting machine in order for the clerk to get the results at night. I did, I don't know if you received it, give a narrative of the services that comes with this license that is provided by the company. And it affects all 3 election offices.
Okay.
Okay, you done?
You just through you, Madam President. Was that,
Continue.
I'm sorry, maybe it might have been included and I just didn't see it. I don't know if that was included in our
Is that included in our package?
packet.
It's distributed, it should be
Okay.
in your package.
It's in there.
It is in here?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, while the freeholders are
Yeah, I
looking
just
for
want to take
that
a quick look at
narrative.
that in reserve.
You have it?
I'm going to take, I do, I'll take a quick look.
Okay.
I didn't have a chance to see it. I just, through you, Madam President, just.
Continue.
Okay, so again, and I guess that's why I just have a little confusion on the contract and why last time, I voted against, authorizing it at our last meeting, just based on the fact that there was no one here to explain or answer any questions, about it. The issue of the implications of the vote that we took that evening was attached to the municipal elections that just passed a week ago. So I guess my question then is, were you able to service those machines,
Absolutely.
in a manner that allowed those elections to take place
Absolutely.
under normal process? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, additional questions, freeholders? Freeholder Clark?
Thank you very much. Good evening, ma'am.
Will you please speak in the mic, Freeholder Clark?
Yes.
Thank you.
Is anyone from Dominion here this evening?
No, they are not.
They're not.
No, and I
Okay.
think we didn't ask them to come because it's an out-of-town vendor,
Oh,
not in Essex County,
They're
Well,
from Denver,
no, they-
Colorado.
Denver, Colorado.
yeah, well, but even if they're an out-of-town company, and they're from, the parent company might be from Denver, they can't be from Denver and servicing our equipment. They're not servicing it from Denver, are they?
Well, we have a vendor under contract with the Superintendent of Elections Office, Election Graphics, that program all our vendor machines for every election.
That's what, okay, so basically, Dominion, according to this, they're supposed to maintain and repair the voting machines under the authorized software and hardware vendor. So that's what you're alluding to now. there's another component to this, right, which is the authorized vendor?
Yes.
Okay.
Dominion is the owner.
Pardon?
Dominion is the owner.
Right. But they authorize an authorized vendor who's on site here in New Jersey to handle whatever needs you have.
Yes.
Okay, is
They
that,
come in for every election and program our laptops that we use to burn the cartridges, the cassettes that go into every voting machine, which calculates for the results for the clerk.
is that vendor here?
No.
Okay. I'm not saying anything or talking out of school or saying anything that I haven't said for the last 12 years. So it's not a surprise that I hold this particular vantage point or viewpoint. I wanted to speak to someone from Dominion or from that authorized vendor because I had concerns about the propriety of the process in and of itself. And so as a result of that, since we can't speak to anyone from Dominion and we can't speak to anyone from the vendor, I'll be voting no again, as I did the first time. No disrespect to you, but that's just how I feel about the process in Essex County. I think it's flawed. I shared that at NJAC. I share it everywhere I go. I'm not thrilled with it in the state of New Jersey, period. So thank you very, very much for appearing here, and thank you for listening.
Okay, additional questions, freeholders? Okay, may I ask, who is the authorized vendor? What's the name of the authorized vendor?
Elections Graphic.
And where are they located?
They're in North Bergen, Madam President.
North Bergen?
Yes, ma'am.
I wasn't aware that I should have known that it had to be someone closer than Colorado, but we would have requested that that person that actually serviced the machines come before the board, because that was one of the concerns at the last meeting, where we have $1 million contract, $100,000 contract, I'm sorry. And any time we approve or disapprove contracts, we always ask to have a vendor whose contract exceeds $100,000 to come before this board. And I think that was one of the issues. And I was advised that it was an out-of-town vendor, not in the next state, but, a distance. Let me ask one more question. Why did you wait so long to bring the contract before the board? It had expired the end of last year. What was the holdup in bringing that contract to the board, even if it was a month later?
Madam President, it was in purchasing, and I was under the impression the money was already allocated in my budget, so I didn't have to come. So it was just a miscommunication between myself and purchasing department.
Okay, is this a yearly contract each year?
Yes, it is. And Madam President, since the Superintendent of Elections Office bought the machines, originally it was a package deal, so for I think about 5 or 7 years, it was already built into the contract and being paid. And when that contract expired, then it went year to year. So for the last 2 years, it has been paid, and this year is pending, and I'm kind of asking the vendor to bear with me, so our elections aren't jeopardized, because we still got to do an election, and they're waiting for their money.
Yeah, that's why I have the concerns, because we have a runoff election in Newark, and we also have an election
Primary in 2 weeks.
primary also.
Yes.
So we're still, even if the board, let me ask the administration, how long would it take for us to turn this around if the board voted in favor of this contract tonight? Because I don't want to be in the position we were in for the primary election where we up in the air about whether the vendor, because the vendor could say tomorrow, I just don't want to do it because you didn't pay me my money, you didn't send my check. Yes. Yes. Okay, let me finish with her and then I'll let you come up. I'm sorry? Oh. Okay, continue.
I think the question was, how soon can the administration turn once the board acts? Typically, once the board approves the resolution, within the next day or so, the clerk is able to provide the resolution paperwork. We could then run a purchase order through the system, so we could move relatively quickly on our side once the board approves this contract.
Okay, because this is a conference meeting, it's not on for action tonight, so that means that we'll have to come back next week and we'll be voting on this contract next week. And we have a week, how long before the primary? From next week? About 1 week, a week and a half, 2 weeks? That's where I have the concern. We just don't need to have anything happening with our machines and any of the elections coming up. And that's why I have the concern about if we vote on this next week, how long will it be for us to turn that around to make sure this contract is in place? I know
Again,
you said that they will come, but when a contract is not in place for 6 months, there's no guarantee that if something happened with the machines, the parts, and the maintenance, that no guarantee that they'll come and support your, respond to your request. Okay, additional questions, Freeholders? Freeholder Bobadilla?
To the administration, Ralph, in this day and age, I mean, we can't expect that every vendor that the county does business with has a local brick and mortar shop, especially with this is software based. Is there any way that we can kind of facilitate, obviously this contract's, above 100,000, a Skype session in case we as a Freeholder board want to ask questions?
Hmm? Okay, yeah, it's a local vendor in North Bergen.
Well,
is that what you're talking
local,
about?
If I could,
the support system, I understand it's local. However, the contract is with a company based out of Colorado.
I think it may be helpful if the freeholders are so inclined to possibly get the vendor at a work session via communication device to vet any questions the board may have. But let's be very clear. This vendor owns the software, is the guts of the voting machines. This is the same vendor, predecessor, Sequoia, where the machines were purchased from. So to say now that we don't want to deal with this software, you're actually saying, what are we going to do for elections? Are we going to go out and purchase new voting machines? We've already invested through grants of the state for this voting machine. It's a software to operate it. Right now, we're talking at elections next week and next month. We have no alternative. Unless we go back to the paper ballots and let everyone vote via paper. But this is a software license. It's no different than on your own personal computers where you take out a software license for Microsoft Word. This vendor owns the license. We have committed to purchasing the machine some 8-10 years ago. We prepaid this license for 5 to 7 years.
Okay, that's it. That's the what I just asked.
So to say now, at the 11th hour, we're questioning this software, I don't fully understand.
I'm not personally, I'm not questioning the software. I'm just questioning the contract. The contract is before us and is 6 months old. I mean, it expired in December. My question is, why did it take so long to come before this board?
It's a very good point, and I think Ms. Sumter tried to address that. I think when the license was prepaid, it was automatic, because when we purchased machines, we had prepaid the software license on a go-forth basis for umpteen years. I think what had happened was that process had lapsed. We had never gone out to contract for this service. It was already included in the original purchase. This was now, the contract expired, we paid that license for all those years. It's now we have to go out and contract again. We have to come up with a new contract. Because it's an election material, they're bid exempt. This is proprietary software for the voting machine. So Ms. Sumter's office, as well as Ms. Von Essie's office, are able to go out and contract directly with this vendor. Why it wasn't done 6 months earlier, that's the best rationale I can come up with, or explanation. It's not a good one, but it's what I think would have occurred, Madam President.
I think that's where my concern is. Maybe some of the other freeholders have other concerns. It's just that I just don't like being put in the position where we have elections and a $100,000 contract comes before us that we'd never seen before because it was in a pre-arranged process to pay that is ongoing, that the contract just automatically renewed itself. And somebody dropped the ball. Somebody should have been watching, and somebody should have known that that contract was expiring, and it should have been before the board. Elections are people are subject to suspect when you don't do what you're supposed to do with elections. And that includes the machines and anything else that happens during the process of individuals coming out to cast their votes.
I think you hit it right on the head, Madam President. I think the ball was dropped here.
Okay. So now that's been said, and we accept that. Freeholder Clark?
Thank you, Madam President. And to Mr. Chilolo's point, he's absolutely right. If I were questioning the software now for the first time, then yes, I would be derelict. However, I'm not questioning the software for the first time. I've questioned the software from the very beginning.
That's true.
And so the position that I've taken, I had 10 years ago when the Sequoia machine came in. The position that I had 10 years ago when the voter verified paper trail should have been added when we were told as a freeholder board, when we bought the Sequoia machines, that they were going to be upgraded and that was indeed going to be the new iteration or what was going to happen. Because my issue with this system and how it works is that there is no mechanism for a recount. I don't care what you do. It's impossible to recount because you don't have a paper trail as an audit. You simply have whatever the machine was programmed to have. And so that's where I questioned it. I questioned it with the citizens that came here to this chambers. So I'm not questioning this stuff for the first time at all. I've always held that attitude and that philosophy. I've always had the same. I go on this. I always. Nothing's changed with my opinion, and nothing will change, because I feel vindicated when Clerk Graciopi in Union finds a glitch, and it's on the internet. You don't have to search for it very hard. The system is not foolproof, and so and even before Miss Sumter. When Mr. Casciano was here, and we questioned him the same way. So it has nothing to do with the personality that sits in or the personage of who sits in that office. It has, for me, it's a matter of principle and what I think about the system itself.
Freeholder Bobadilla?
Yeah, through you, Ralph, your comments are totally right on. It makes common sense. You can't say that, you know, we've used the system for this long and now 2 weeks into a runoff and something else that, you know, that now we're starting to questioning how the system works. My only comment is, how do we have a dialogue with the vendor or a subcontractor of that vendor and to really try to figure out how do we have that dialogue, you know, before this freeholder board meeting? That's my only comment.
I think what we can do is request the vendor to address in a work session format, and we could do it as kind of a new technology, a voice conference situation, if that works for the members of the board. We could do it in 2 sessions, and depending on the availability of the freeholders, working with the president and the clerk, you know, we could easily arrange a conference call with the vendor.
Yes, Mr. McInerney?
The only question that I have, and I was trying to get my bearings by talking to Freeholder Clark on the sidelines, is I recall the prepayment of the license when we did initiate the contract. And I would just, for some reason, I thought it was more than 5, more than 7, I thought it was 10. I could be wrong, but could you just check that again and make sure that the original contract for the license was for a period of time already expired, as opposed to the 10-year period, which I, for some reason, thought it was. But it was an upfront payment for $150,000 or something like that, if I remember correctly.
You asking for information, I think I missed that.
Well,
I'm
what it
sorry.
is, there's a part of this $110,000 includes the cost of the license. When we purchased these voting machines, as Mr. Chiella reminded us, there was a prepayment of that license that prepayment would be for a certain number of years. Mr. Chiello's saying 5 to 7. I'm for some reason 10. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just asking to confirm.
To confirm the
back to
10,
us
okay.
when the expiration of that prepaid license took place.
The original license. Okay, Freeholder Gill?
Thank you, Madam President. And through you, Madam President, not to belabor the point, but you know, you articulated precisely what my personal concern is regarding this contract in terms of the timing. To your point, Mr. McInerney, I just want to be clear. So so there's a potential either that this contract hasn't expired or the expiration is longer than 6-month period. Because my question, based on that information, is how many elections have we had where they have been operating without a contract?
Through you, Madam President, I believe it's as of 2014.
So just
This calendar year, I
just a
believe.
school board
I could
and-
ask the superintendent to confirm that.
This year only, 2014.
Okay. So, so school board and the municipal that just passed.
Yes.
And in those 2 elections, were there maintenance or repair or programming calls?
Always. Always.
So the vendor is operating under the assumption that we are going to pass this contract. They're expecting to be paid. If we do not, if the board did not pass this contract, is the county still liable for those services performed without a contract?
Madam President,
Paganelli.
James
And,
Paganelli from the Office of County Counsel. I would rather not get into the conjecture of that question, not that it's not a valid question, but if we want to talk about our legal positions on these issues, it should be an executive session, shouldn't be an open session.
Okay.
Mr. Polypecchio?
I'll defer to Mr. Paganelli. I wasn't going to make a direct response
but generally speaking, I'll defer to Mr. Paganelli on what he said.
So, Mr. Paganelli, you're saying that the question that was asked by Freeholder Gill falls into more of a legal question?
Madam President, this resolution purports to have the contract be effective January 1 of 2014 through December 31st, 2014. The board decides not to go through with that type of a resolution. I don't want to talk in public as to what our position might be, vis-a-vis lawsuits or claims or anything else. That would be something that I would rather talk with the board in terms of a strategic maneuver in closed session.
Yeah, Freeholder Gill.
Thank you, Madam President. I mean, it seems to me there's two issues here. There's the issue that Freeholder Clark has raised regarding the actual software itself, going back to the original contract. I was not on the board at that time, but I do remember that debate very well, because there was participation from many people across the county when those machines were purchased, and I guess the software that came with it. The second issue is how, in the process, we're being asked to now vote on this contract, and why it's taken so much time for this to come before us. Freeholder Bobadilla has raised the issue of a potential, through the administration, of a potential work session. Would this, if this is entertained, this work session would happen after we take the vote tonight to ask more in-depth questions of the right, because of the timing.
I don't think we have that much time.
I guess what I'm trying to understand is, when we do have potentially the vendor before us to get more into these operational potential questions, and the board finds they do have a concern, what are the tools to the board at that point in time, once the contract's already been
Half of the years.
right?
gone.
And I'm sorry, this is a one-year contract, correct?
Paganelli.
Yes.
One-year
It'll be
contract,
1 year.
which is,
Half a year.
Half.
sorry, in effect, half.
Half of the year.
Over, Madam President, through you, with elections already completed.
Right.
And another one 2 weeks away, and another one 2 weeks after that. And
Right, and 4 months after that.
And then 4 months after that.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, Freeholder, do I have any other comments?
I do have another question.
Vecchio,
To
Mr.
Mr. Chilella, Ms. Sumter did mention that the local vendor or repair person is from North Bergen. I presume we have a separate contract with them as well? With whoever that is? Or are they under some other, or are they still under the warranty or whatever system they were under?
Through Madam President, I think, we're trying to get the answer to that, Mr. Palavecchia.
Madam President, I apologize. I did not
No
hear the
problem.
question. I'm sorry, Mike.
It was mentioned that that this contract that's up for resolution number 1 is with a, I guess for lack of a better term, the software manufacturer in Colorado. But it was mentioned there's a local person or local company that, out of North Bergen, that services the machine and does the actual programming. I wanted to know if we have a separate contract with that group, or is that with that North Bergen entity, or is that local service subsumed under this contract? If it's a separate contract, what's the amount of that contract? Who's it with? Is that coming up as well?
Madam President, through you, and speaking with Ms. Sumter offline here, it appears to me that there is a separate contract. We're not certain as to the full amount. So I would suggest that we do a little homework and provide a report back to the clerk through your office of that additional contract. Some of these matters, Madam President, I don't want to offer the board conjecture, but some of these matters, perhaps in the past, were done through an omnibus. They're not bid, and the board does pass an omnibus resolution, which allows some acquisitions for election-related things. And I think, along with what Mr. Chilella indicated, that perhaps this was a bulk buy in early years, and that's expired now. Perhaps some of this has been done on omnibus. So I think we have a little bit of homework to do on our end to just kind of shore up Mr. Paolavecchio's questions and report back on those full things. The only other issue that I would like to raise, and probably in response to Freeholder Gill's issue, obviously these companies are very busy this time of year. So if you're going to look for a work session or some type of a committee type setting or even a full board session, the earlier we know that date, the earlier we can try to reach out and make those arrangements to have them come in. Although I would say that my advice earlier would hold through that meeting as well. So I wouldn't want contractual issues discussed with that vendor without us sitting down, attorney-client, discussing what our situation might be.
Just let me ask one more question.
Yes.
Did I understand that you said that this particular contract it was bid exempt?
It's, Madam President, through you, this is election materials, and it's also computer proprietary information. So there are exemptions for these types of acquisitions. That's why I indicated before that perhaps in the past, along with maybe buying a number of years when we first bought the machinery, some of these purchases may have been done through the omnibus resolution that the board passes.
Okay. Freeholders? Freeholder Bobadilla?
In the future for such contract, can we identify who the local subcontractor is? Because I've looked through this resolution and I don't see it unless I missed it.
Madam President, through you, again, it may be one of those, it may be a situation where the other contract was awarded through omnibus and not brought before this board. I have to go through it and check, and I can give a report to the board through council or through your office, Madam President, just to see how that one was awarded. And we need to get our, I'm not being critical, but I think you pointed it out before, we need to get our purchasing world in order a little bit here. Because if there's this type of contract, its sister contract, so to speak, should be also here tonight. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, the information that, that you said that you would present to the board, we're not voting on this tonight. I'm going to have it listed. That information should be in the hands of the board before the next meeting.
Yes, ma'am, by the end of the week, we'll have it.
By the end of the
We'll
week.
have it over to you. Yes, ma'am.
All righty. And no additional questions, freeholders? Madam Clerk, we'll list Resolution 1. Thank you, Ms. Sumter.
You're welcome, Madam President.
Okay, let's go to Resolution 2. Sheila?
Yes, Madam President, this is our Division of Housing and Community Development. This is a submission of our Essex County 2014 action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. This is a requirement, a federal regulation. In order to receive the CDBG home as well as ESGB funds, the county must develop a 5-year consolidated plan which identifies the needs. This is that plan, Madam President.
Okay, let's go with 3, also from the Department of Economic Development.
Again, this is Economic Development Division of Housing and Community Development. This is a contract with our Department of Public Works in the amount of $289,267 for roadway reconstruction of Lyons Avenue from Grove Street to Springfield Avenue in the Township of Irvington. There were some unexpended funds that CDBG had. They advertised, our Public Works Department applied for these funds and were victorious in receiving this grant award. And this will help to remove, replace pavement markings, as well as install handicap ramps, detectable warning surfaces at the intersections, at the reconstruction of Lyons Avenue.
Okay, freeholders, question, comments on 2? Mr. McInerney, you have any questions on resolution 2?
No, Madam President, no questions on this resolution.
Okay, on 3, freeholders, question, comments? No question, comments? Let's take resolution 2 and 3 together.
Just listing. Just listing.
I mean, let's list it, 2 and 3, Madam Clerk. And let's go to 4.
4, Madam President, is our Department of Administration and Finance. This is requesting a approved list of qualified professional auditing services. There were 2 vendors that were qualified, Holman from Freehold, New Jersey, and Samuel Klein from Newark, New Jersey. Each of the various auditing contracts will be brought back to this board for votes.
Okay, let's take 5.
Department of Citizen Services, Division of Senior Services. This is the acceptance of our 2014 area plan. This is nothing more than a housekeeping resolution. This board has already approved as well as inserted roughly $5 million in grant funds, and this plan is actually updated annually, and this is that housekeeping resolution to go along with the plan.
Okay, freeholders, you have any questions on 4? 5? Mr. McInerney, questions or comments on 4 or 5 resolution? None? Mr. Paganelli, Paula Vecchio? Okay, Madam Clerk, we'll list resolutions 4 and 5. Let's go to resolutions, I'm sorry, freeholder Clark. I'm sorry, you're questioning 5?
No, not so much a question, just a comment.
Okay.
Through you, Madam President, to Mr. Chilella. Perhaps we can have our Workforce Committee, and then that way we can bring in the various divisions, and we can talk about what's in this recent area plan.
Certainly.
And some of the things, some of the programs and stuff, Madam President, that we can expect citizens to be able to benefit from.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
very good. Madam Clerk, she's requesting, did you say you would like to, you requested a meeting?
Yeah.
We have the clerk to set that up for you?
Work person. And we'll check with Mr. Chilella to find out what dates are good, okay?
Will do.
Okay, Madam Clerk, let's go to resolutions 6, Department of Corrections. Ralph, you want to explain the resolution?
Yes, Madam President, as we have brought to this board in previous meetings this year, this is for our East Orange Lock Unit. As you know, we partner with about 6 counties where we provide a security for their inmates that are at East Orange General Hospital. This is for the county of Passaic, and this is a 1-year option agreement. The rate is roughly $335 that they will be paying Essex County per inmate, and there is a higher rate for a higher level inmate at $49.50 per hour. This is general revenue to the county. I would point out that last year from Passaic County, the county generated about $70,000 worth of income.
Okay, you want to have someone else from?
I do have
Department of
Mr.
Corrections?
Ortiz, our Director of a Correctional Facility.
Mr. Ortiz, do you want to add something else to the comments from the Mr.?
Good evening.
Shall-
Pharaoh Ortiz, Director, Essex County Correctional Facility. I just can add that we enjoy a very good relationship with the Passaic County Correctional, and we provide this service is strictly for the security and the detention of the inmate or detainee, and they have a separate contract with the hospital regarding the medical care. It's been very fruitful. They are one of our better clients. They have a higher frequency than the other counties. I fully support this resolution.
Okay, Mr. McInerney?
No, I just asked whether or not the rates are the same as they were in prior contracts.
That is correct.
And really, I mean, every time I ask this question, I'm surprised. There really isn't, there's not a lot of use of that facility. There's always seems that we have extra beds, available there. Is there more opportunity to go into other shared agreements with other counties?
Yes, sir. We have reached out to other counties. Some are too far away.
Right.
Some of them are thinking about it. We are in constant contact with other Central Jersey. They haven't gotten back to us, but we do have contacts with other counties, Burlington, Somerset.
Right. And I think we dealt with this before, Al, but the potential sale of East Orange General Hospital is not going to impact on this contract whatsoever.
I can't really speak to that, but my understanding, based on my conversations, is that everything is going well. They're very excited about our presence there. They really encourage that type of business.
Good.
They handle it very well. We handle it very well.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Director.
Thank you, Mr. McInerney. Mr. Polyvecki?
No questions on this resolution.
Okay, freeholders, questions, comments on Resolution 6? No questions, no comments. Madam Clerk, we'll list Resolution 6. And let's go to 7, 8, 9, 10. And let's stop, no, let's go to 13. We'll take all from the Department of Parks. Mr. Sheila, we'll start with Resolution 7.
This is a contract award to High Concrete, the lowest responsible bidder, to provide for maintenance and repair services for our Essex County Park and Ride facility. This is a 24-month agreement, amount not to exceed $163,992. This is on an as-needed basis, but the contract does call for inspections, power washing, caulking, small repairs of the concrete, and as I said earlier, this is on an as-needed basis. Resolution number 8 and 9 are resolutions that go together. Resolution 8 is the authorization to utilize the Open Space Trust Fund for the 2014 Local Aid Grant Program in the amount of $3,300,000. Resolution number 9 is the actual awards to the 22 municipality for $3,300,000. Each of our Essex County municipalities will be receiving $150,000, and these funds will help support local municipal projects that they've undertaken. In your packet, you have a list of each municipality as well as the project that they will be undertaking. There is the estimated project amount for the entire portion of the project, and then the county's share of $150,000. Resolution number 10, Department of Parks contract award to Acromist to provide for maintenance of our irrigation aerators at water parks and our golf courses. We are exercising a second one-year option, amount not to exceed $326,907.50. This, too, is an open-ended, as-needed contract. This is a 1% index increase off of last year's contract. Resolution 11, contract award to a buyer of Morristown, the lowest responsible bidder, to provide for 3 Dodge dump trucks with snow plow packages, $170,994. This is coming out of our capital budget. These will be replacing vehicles that are part of our fleet that are 1998 vintage. Resolution number 12, our Parks Department authorization to utilize the competitive contracting process to solicit proposals for hydroponic farm trainer for our management, operation, and maintenance of a hydroponic greenhouse, agricultural education program center, and a concession for the Essex County Urban Farm at Branchwick Park. As you know, before the using agency can go out for a competitive contract, they must seek the board's approval for such a process. Resolution 13 is our Parks Department contract award to Donna Frio and Son, the lowest responsible bidder, for landscape maintenance services for the Southern Division at Branchwood Park, 24-month agreement, amount not to exceed $75,000, and this is coming out of the parks operating funds.
Okay, freeholders, we've heard explanation of resolutions 7 through 13. We'll take question comments on resolution 7. Mr. Parker.
Mr. Chilolo, I think I know the answer, and it's obvious, but just to be clear for the record, on number 7, it's the existing park and ride, the existing garage up at South Mountain facility, right? Not anything to do with the proposed or projected one.
That is correct. That is for our South Mountain parking deck adjacent to Cody Arena.
Thank you.
Okay. This contract is over $100,000, but I think this vendor been before this board before. Am I correct?
Through you, Madam President, I believe this vendor was here at our last meeting.
Okay. That's what I
So we didn't think we needed to bring him back, Madam President.
Okay. Let's see if we have
And this
any
is a 2-year agreement.
Okay. Let's see if we have any questions or comments from the board, and then that would determine if we need to bring him back at the next meeting. Freeholder Clark.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Mr. Chilolo, is this the same person that's been servicing the facility?
Through you, Madam President, I believe we had them in the past. I believe last year was Bismarck, a different vendor. So there's been multiple vendors that have won this contract in the past.
Because somehow High Concrete sticks out in my mind, because aren't they the people who built the garage?
Through you, Madam President, High Concrete, they also fabricate,
Yeah.
they do fabricate decks.
The thing comes in a puzzle, and you just kind of put it together.
That's correct.
And I guess what I'm trying to figure out is why we're outsourcing for all intents and purposes, we're outsourcing the repair and maintenance because we don't have the capability in-house with our engineering department or public works people to be able to do it. Is it that specific?
Through you, Madam President, my understanding is it is a specialty parking decks and garages, and the inspection is very critical. So that inspection is pretty much what we're relying on the vendor to do and to make those repairs. Whether or not our public works staff can handle this, that's a good question to go back and ask our director, but as we have in the past, as well as other parking deck owners, they've seemed to always rely on outside entities to inspect and do minor repairs on their parking decks.
And apparently, no one else seems to bid on this.
We did have 22 potential vendors that did bid,
Well,
only one response.
They looked at it, but only 2 people actually bothered to. And I don't know, I'm thinking back to conversations relative to this particular, to 2 or 3 garages actually, the one down by Riverfront as well. And the fact that this company out of Pennsylvania, they did not, I don't think it wasn't a PLA, it wasn't a project labor agreement, and so there was no organized labor involvement in constructing it, and certainly there's none in maintaining it. But, well, I mean, if this is it's just interesting because the people who built it now are coming full circle to maintaining it. I'm just thinking at some point in time, it would probably help us a lot from a cost-effective standpoint if we could get some in-house folks to have some expertise, some technical expertise, because these contracts are only going to become more costly as we go forward. They're not going to. What did we spend? If you know, I mean, you may not know that information right now, but what did we spend on this contract in previous years?
Last year, the vendor was Bismarck, and it was about a half of, well, basically right on, it was about $82,973 for the year. So for 163, it's for 2 years, it's about, it's about right on point.
Okay.
Freeholder,
And I just
continue,
have
Freeholder Clark.
I have one more question. Oh, actually, it's a comment and one to congratulate you on the hydroponic thing. I don't know how many people really fully understand that and the significance of it, but Ralph, if you are able to do anything positive with that, you really need to. Now that's a press conference that you need to have because it can help people health-wise. Hydroponically grown foods are proven to help cancer patients a lot.
Are we talking about 12, Freeholder?
I'm talking about number 12.
Hold 12 for me. I want to go
hydroponic-
down the line for comments, so
Oh,
we'll
okay.
follow.
So I got there too soon.
You got there too soon.
Okay.
Okay. Additional questions on 7 freeholders? No additional questions, comments? We'll go to 8 and 9, the companion resolutions. Question, comments? Mr. McInerney?
Madam President, just a question as to compliance. There's a list of projects that these funds will be given to the municipalities for in order for them to partially fund larger projects, which I assume will require funds from municipality. Just curious what kind of regulations or restrictions or follow-ups, if any, does the county have on these? I assume we can consider them grant funds to ensure that the monies being given to municipalities are expended for the purpose for which they were given.
Through you, Madam President, the way the Open Space Trust Fund conducted this, each of the municipalities made presentations to the board, as well as written proposals. As part of that review process, in their contract with the county, in order to draw down the funds, the grant awards from the county, obviously the funds have got to be shoveled in the ground, they've got to be ready to go. Some of these projects, may be in phases. The county may be picking up phase 1 of so they will submit reports and requests for reimbursements or for the payment for those services. A few years back, we did do a similar type program. There were not many, but a few municipalities that did not spend the entire amount. And years later, we did go back, as this board is familiar with, and recaptured those funds. So the Parks Department and Open Space Trust Fund will review the expenditure reports as well as the monitoring of these success of these projects to make sure that the county's share is not the only support for the project, but also has other dollars that have been committed and the projects will be completed.
So they literally have to prove to you that they're spending these funds in accordance with the objectives that they outlined for you.
Exactly. If the project is not built, they will not receive the check.
I can't ask any more than that. That's
Freeholders, additional questions? We're on Resolution 8 and 9.
Quick question.
Yes, I'm sorry. Mr. Polyvecchio?
Mr. McInerney hit my first question, and I'm glad he did. The second question was, Ralph, you said that we have done this local aid project before. We don't do it annually, though, do we?
No.
No, I want to say 2008, but I may be wrong, but it's somewhere around there was the last time we did the local aid program.
And each municipality, although some gave the money back, each municipality made a request and was given the opportunity for funding?
That is correct, and as you can see on your list, all 22 municipalities submitted requests, and all 22 are receiving funding.
Madam President,
Yes, Mr.
what had happened the last time, in the accounting that we get from the administration that outlines by year the monies received and expended through open space, you will see that there's an amount called encumbered. And that amount encumbered is usually in many cases applicable at least to the past grants that we have done. And we've questioned those if they stayed on the books for a number of years. And what is being communicated now is if you didn't spend it, you're going to have to pay it back. Or you're not going to get it, obviously.
Absolutely. Okay,
Madam President.
yes, Freeholder Clark.
Mr. Chilella, is it the same rule of thumb that you are looking to see shovel-ready projects for these dollars?
You're absolutely correct, Madam Freehill.
Okay. Freeholder Clark, are you good, done?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, are we there yet?
No, not there
Not
yet.
yet.
Okay, we'll go to Resolution 10, Freeholders. Questions, comments? We'll go to Resolution 11. No questions, no comments. On 12, Freeholder Clark.
Yeah, I just wish you all the best with this, and when it's up and running, make sure you present it to the citizens of the county in such a way. I don't know whether, do you know already what you plan to do with what you grow?
Through you, Madam President, this is actually the first step, and that is to request to go out for a competitive contract so that we could bring someone in to actually assist us in the management of the operation. So this is actually put in a request to go out to advertise to do the hydroponic program.
Because it also says and concession for the Essex County Urban Farm. Are you looking at them being one and the same? Or are they two separate entities?
My understanding is once we go out for a competitive contract and we receive back proposals, they'll be evaluated, and within each proposal, they'll identify their scope and what they will bring to the county, and I'm sure many of them will have a feature in there that has to do with the selling of products. That'll all be part of the evaluation product. I see Mr. Paganelli popping up.
Mr. Pagnelli popped up.
Madam President, James Spaganelli from the Office of County Counsel. Mr. Chilella is correct. We're calling this a concession, which allows us to go out for competitive contracting. We anticipate that the operator of the facility will sell product. They will sell product through to a couple local hospitals, some food chains, and also locally. And we're waiting for those responses to come back. We think this is a win-win. We do agree that it's a great technology for the first aspect of it. It'll be a revenue for the county for the concessionaire that operates, and we also think that it'll provide good fresh produce for the residents of Essex County, which is primary importance.
Okay, Freeholder Clark.
It begs one more question. Will the person who's going to actually What is Essex County's, for lack of a better terminology, what's our skin in the game in this one? In other words, what do we have to put into it?
Madam President, through you, it's the county facility, and some of this, as the Freeholder Board already knows, is up and operating. We do anticipate, though, that a winning concessionaire will be putting in some capital improvement as well.
Okay, so essentially, some of the equipment will be owned wholly by Essex County?
Yes, Madam President.
The land and the actual facility itself, is it going to be owned by Essex County?
Madam President, yes, it's ours.
Okay, so that's where we'll be able to, they'll pay us for the privilege of owning and operating.
Correct. It's a
Okay.
win-win-win. It's a revenue. It
Absolutely.
expands a great science, which we believe in, and it also gives Essex County residents fresh produce.
Well, can I suggest this, that the trainee or the trainer, is that person going to be a county employee?
Madam President, we're going to wait for responses back to define that, but I can say preliminarily, we've had some conversations with the college to try to get some college students to receive their training in this type of facility.
Yeah, perfect. There should be somebody from Essex County who is skilled in operation of that. But if you're able to do this one right, it's going to be so nice. So nice.
I'd love to take credit, but I can't. So.
Okay. Additional questions, comments, freeholders? Let's go to Resolution 13. No questions? No comments? Okay, Madam Clerk, let's list 7 through 13, and Ralph, let's move with 14 through 17.
Department of Public Works contract award to Nestle's Water of North America, the lowest responsible bidder, to furnish and deliver bottled water as well as cooler rentals. This is a 2-year grant agreement, amount not to exceed $100,000. Resolution 15 is Public Works Division of Buildings and Grounds, contract award to Air Systems Maintenance, the lowest responsible bidder, to provide for HVAC services at various county buildings, 365-day agreement. This is coming out of our capital funds, and we did receive 4 bids from 43 potential vendors. Resolution 16, Division of Fleet Management contract award to 3 of the lowest responsible bidder on a per-item unit cost basis to provide various brands, models, and sizes of tires for our Essex County fleet vehicles. 1-year agreement, amount not to exceed $100,000. This is on an as-needed basis. And Resolution 17, Department of Public Works, Division of Engineering contract with Pannoni Associates to provide engineering and inspection services for traffic signals and roadway improvements, amount not to exceed $197,180. This is coming out of our capital funds. The pending intersections include Park Avenue and 6th Street in Newark, Park Avenue and 7th Street in Newark, Park Avenue and Roselle Avenue in Newark, Park Avenue and 9th Street in Newark, Grove and Lyons in Irvington, Grove and Coit in Irvington, Lyons and Coit in Irvington, Clinton and Civic Square in Irvington, as well as Springfield Avenue Streetscape Project in Irvington, and thereafter, if there are other intersections that are developed, that'll be added as well. And we do have a representative from Pannoni, Madam President, this evening, Mr. Todd Hay.
Mr. Cade, you want to come to the microphone, please? Okay, let me do this. Okay, freeholders, any questions for Mr. Cade? And we'll continue. Freeholder Clark.
How are you? Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Chilella, before I ask you, sir, Mr. Chilella, is this a service that we've used before and from this particular vendor?
I know we've utilized this service before. I'm not certain if this vendor provided that service. We could ask them.
And where have you provided these services? What other counties have you provided these services in?
We provide these services with the county, actually currently. We've also have provided these services as well in several...
Excuse me, will you just put your
I
name?
apologize.
Will you
I'm
put
sorry
your
about
name
that.
on the
Again,
record?
my name is Todd Hay, H-A-Y, with Pannoni Associates. I am the office director. I'm responsible for Northern New Jersey and Lower New York operations. We have provided these services currently with the county. We've also provided the services in Union County as well as Monmouth County, and then also in Salem, Cumberland, Atlantic County, Cape May, and Burlington County.
Okay. So traffic signals is what you do?
Yeah, it's one of the many things that we do as an engineering firm, yes, and we've been very successful with it in the counties throughout the state.
Do you have any minorities in your firm?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Women?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we do. I have two staff engineers that are assigned to me to do a lot of the work with county currently.
Okay. Thank you.
Freeholders, additional questions? Okay, let's continue. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Madam President.
Ralph?
Number 18?
Oh, no, I'm sorry, we had 17.
We just did 17, I think, right?
Yeah, I was gonna go back now and ask it. Okay, Ralph is done. Let's go, we asked questions already on 14. Let's go back to, we asked, the freeholders responded to 14 and 15 and 16. Am I correct? Do you have any questions on 16? Question, comments on 16? Question, comments on 17? Freeholders? So let's go back. Question, comments on 14, 15, 16, and 17. No additional questions, freeholders. Madam Clerk, we will list 14 through 17. 18. Ralph?
Yes, Madam President. This is a housekeeping resolution from the Department of Citizen Services for the approval of the Community Service Block Grant Award Resolution. This is a mandated requirement from the state. This board has already inserted the funds of $323,863, as well as already approved the sub-grant agreement. This is a housekeeping resolution that the state requires. Resolution 19 is a similar housekeeping resolution. This is that of our Department of Citizen Services, approval of our social services for the homeless grant. These funds have already been inserted to the tune of $1,678,972, and the sub-grants have already been approved by this board.
Okay, continue.
Resolution 20, insertion of revenue from the State of New Jersey, Office of the Attorney General, Division of Criminal Justice. This is for body armor replacement program, $22,419. These are for vests for the protection against blunt force, as well as other associated with the impact from a knife or object. These are replacement vehicles, and these have a useful life of 5 years.
Okay, continue.
Resolution number 21, Department of Administration, contract award to 6 of the lowest responsible bidder on a unit cost basis to furnish and deliver over-the-counter pharmaceuticals, amount not to exceed $500,000. In your matrix, there is a list of the items, and this is primarily utilized at our psychiatric hospital.
Okay, for the record, that this contract will go from May 1st to June 1st of 2016?
That's correct.
Because we made it, okay. Okay, continue.
Resolution 22, Department of Administration, Office of Purchasing, requesting approval to conduct an online auction of sale of surplus vehicles and equipment. The Purchasing Department has identified through Public Works 45 vehicles and equipment that have no longer any useful life for the County of Essex, and we are requesting to conduct an online auction. And finally, 23, Department of Administration and Finance contract with Johnson GP to provide telecommunications equipment and systems maintenance, repair, optimization, as well as troubleshooting services for the period June 1st through May 31st of 2015, amount not to exceed $200,000. This rate is roughly $90 per hour, which reflects a 28% savings off our past state contract, which was at $125 per hour. This is up to 32 hours per week for an on-site technician, and this is to service the county's telecommunications services. And it's on an as-needed basis, as well as for material and higher-level tech programming and telephone services are also part. And we also have a representative, Mr. Steve Mullen from Johnson.
Okay, let me do this, Ralph. Let's ask for question, comments up to 22, because I need to make a comment again on 22, where my documents were showing, there was, I indicated to you June 1st, but it's still April 30th, and then 23, which should be June 1st. So let's take one at a time, and let's go to Resolution 18. Question, comments, freeholders. 19. Question, comments on the homeless grant. 20. 21. And that's where I've made, on my records, it was a correction for showing April 30th, and then it said June 1st. That was an error on my document that I was looking at, so it is April 30th. Am I correct? I just want to make sure we're clear on that. May 1st, 2014 to April 30th, 2016, that was as stated, right?
That is correct, Madam President.
Okay. And then we'll go to question, comments on Resolution 22. No questions, no comments, and question, comments on Resolution 23, and that April 30th should be June 1st, am I correct? So Ralph, Resolution 23, instead of April 30th, is June 1st. That was the correction?
That's correct, and it's
Okay,
June
I just
1st,
want-
2014 through May 31st, 2015. That is correct.
Okay, that's correct. Question, comments, freeholders on Resolution 23. Mr. McInerney, did you have any questions or comments from 2018 through 23?
No, I do not.
I don't see. Okay, the contract is $200,000. That doesn't, the freeholders don't have any questions or comments. The vendor is here. Mr. Shelley, you want to call them up?
Yes,
It doesn't appear that there's
Mr.
any
Mullen?
questions. But since they're here, we may as well have them introduce themselves to the board, and tell us a little about your company.
Madam President, my name is Steve Mullen. I'm one of the owners of Johnson Communications. We're a telecommunications company located in Kearney, New Jersey. We've been here servicing your systems for about 5 years.
Okay.
We appreciate all the business from Essex County, and we are responsive to your needs 24/7 by 365. When you call us, we come.
That's good to hear.
And we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Freeholders, since we've heard from the representative from Johnston GP Inc., do we have any questions on reference to the communications? No questions? Okay, thank you for coming. It appears that the freeholders, we don't have any questions at this time. We'll be voting on this contract next week. But again, thank you for sharing the information with us.
Thank you,
Additional
Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. So freeholders, no additional questions, comments, and Madam Clerk, let's list 18 through 23. Okay, we'll list also Resolution 24 through 37, all commendations. Madam Clerk, do we have any added starter resolutions?
Madam President, we have three, Resolution 38 through 40.
Will you read them into the record, please? Can we take all three of these together?
To read them? Sure.
Okay. Read all three, please.
Resolution 38, 2014 County Budget Insertion of Items of Revenue from the State of New Jersey, Department of Labor and Workforce Development for Work First New Jersey, Department of Economic Development Training and Employment, $100,000. Resolution 39, Department of Economic Development, Training and Employment, Division of Training and Employment, amendment to contract with Essex County College to provide additional educational vocational training for eligible welfare to work clients, September 1st, 2013 through June 30th, 2014, additional amount not to exceed $238,125. Resolution 40, Department of Parks, Recreation and Cultural Affairs contract award to World Corporation Incorporated, the largest responsive and responsible bidder for the repair, replacement of playground equipment and safety surfaces in Essex County Parks, 2-year agreement, amount not to exceed $2,168,620.
Okay, Mr. Sheila, you want to start explaining the resolutions you request an action, and tell us why you request an action on these three resolutions.
First of all, Madam President, thank you for allowing us to add this as added starters this evening. 38, we were just notified by the state of New Jersey on May 15th that they will be giving the county an additional $100,000 for workforce activities, which is good news. The bad news is we have to spend it by June 30th. That is why we're bringing it before this board this evening, so that we could have these funds allocated and spent in a timely fashion. Resolution 39, again, it's good news to the county. We have an additional $238,125 that we can provide for an additional 100 slots that we can provide at our Essex County College. That's the good news. Again, these funds have to be done by June 30th. That's primarily the main reason to ask for action on both, or to list these both on this evening, so that we can spend these dollars in an appropriate and a timely fashion. And finally, resolution number 40 is our Parks Department. This is our contract award for playground replacements as well as safety surfaces repairs. It took some time to get this bid back. Finally, through purchasing and through Parks, we are now ready to move on this contract. And since this is the height of the season for our playgrounds and safety surfaces, it's advantageous for us to have this contract in place so that we can make the necessary playground equipment repairs as well as safety surfaces repairs in a timely fashion.
Okay, let's take first Resolution 38. Mr. McInerney, any questions on 38?
I do not know.
Okay. Freeholders, who is here to make sure we spend this $100,000?
Oh. I see Miss Arlene Steinbecker in the back of the room.
Ms. Steinbecker back there. Ms. Steinbecker, your name for the record, please.
Good evening, Arlene Steinbecker, Director of Training and Employment.
Okay, you want to give us a little more information on how you are going to assist the administration in making sure we spend the $100,000 we're receiving?
Yes. The state came to us actually in April and asked us if we could use additional funding in order to reach our participation rate of 50%, which even I have to say with the additional 100,000 we won't make it, but it will assist us in providing additional slots for our TANF and GA clients. So we did request after going over our budget, we did request $100,000. And if you note, actually, it's effective May 21st. They were kind enough to send me an email on Friday stating that we were approved for the $100,000. In anticipation of this money being granted to us, we went and we spoke with the college to see if they could possibly assist us with this, and we had some additional unobligated funds. And at that point, what we have to do, the funds do expire, the contract ends June 30th. However, as long as we have people, students, in the seats before the end of June, we have until the end of the year, till December, to spend down the money. So the college has guaranteed that if we send them the bodies, they have the seats for them. There are various programs that they will be offering, such as job search and some vocational programs. I think it's CNA, home health aid. And those programs, the job search, I think, begins June 2nd. And they can take that number of clients that they indicated, which is for the job search, they will take an additional 100 students. And then we have vocational CNA, patient care, and medical assistant, which is office work, actually. So it will bring up their total slots to, 400 for the job search, 50 for CNA, 40 for patient care, and then the medical assistant is 45. And like I said, we have until December for the students to complete the program. All of these programs will end, though, I believe, by the end of September, so we have enough time to get the billing and collect our money and pay the college.
Very good. Freeholders. Any questions?
Madam,
Yes, Freeholder Owens?
I've had a personal call from our friends who are not here this evening at Weequahic Park pertaining to some repairs at, particularly on playground equipment. And I would like,
Okay, the playground equipment would not be with this.
that's number 40, right?
Yes.
But you only have 38?
Yeah, we're on 38.
Okay,
now.
all right,
Yeah,
mine
we
is,
just wanted
I'll
to
wait.
get it- we
I'll
wanna
wait, I'm
clar-
sorry.
We want to clarify how we're going to
I
spend
thought she
the
did all three of
dollars
them, okay.
and how we will work with Essex County College in order, who will provide the training. And the programs that we're training these individuals for, there's place in the workforce, there's openings for,
Yes.
it's an open market like for these?
Yes, Madam
Program.
President. The healthcare industry is one of our highest industries where they are hiring, so we are looking at that.
Okay, good. Because, it would be good, and we're going where the jobs are, that's what you're saying to us.
Yes.
Okay. Additional questions, comments, freeholders? Okay, Ms. Steinbacher, you can just make sure we spend that money.
We're going to try.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
No additional questions, freeholders, and we're going to take 38, 39, and 40 together as one, but let's go to 39 now. Question, comments, freeholders? None for 39? Because that's what she talked about with working with Essex County College, am I correct? Okay, so let's go to 40. Now, Freeholder Owens.
I'm sorry, I get a little anxious because I'm always getting requests from Weequahic Park, and I try to help them out if I can. Or we help them out, not me personally. But it was shown to me personally where they had some problems with some of the playground equipment. And I was hoping that some of these funds would be put in that direction so that that could be accommodated.
Okay, Ralph, do we have Weequahic Park on the list to have some repairs done this summer?
Through you, Madam President, this contract is for the entire park system?
Mhm.
Yes.
But can we make sure that I know it's for the entire park system, but can we kind of concentrate, not favoritism, but kind of make sure that we check with Weekway Park?
I will
And if you got a list
check on
of-
that in the morning, Madam President.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph.
Do we have any other comments or questions on Resolution 40? We didn't ask the World Corporation to come in tonight. McInerney, Mr. McInerney?
This cost, though, Rob, this is coming out of our operating budget, correct? This is
The 2 million.
I didn't see a term in there.
Typically, this is a operation expenditure.
Operation, it's a big.
So I believe it still comes out of our operating.
Okay, thank you.
Is
No other
it?
question, that's good.
World Corporation, is this the first time we've had them under contract?
Through Madam President, I will verify that with Parks and get back to the board. I know that, through Madam President, I'm informed that they have this contract before, and they are a certified game time installer, and game time is the playground equipment that's utilized in most of our parks, Madam President.
Okay, so this company we've had before the board before?
They've done this type of contract for the county before, yes.
Okay, and they were the lowest responsible bidder?
Yes, Madam President.
How many bids did we have?
My understanding, there were 4 bids that were received out of 39 potential vendors.
Okay, and they were the lowest responsible?
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to ask, since we're voting on this and we want to get the contract out, do we have any objections to just moving this contract since this vendor was before the board before, so we could get moving with the repairs in the parks? Freeholders, none? Okay, so we're ready to go. Do I have a motion and second to take Resolution 38, 39, and 40 together?
So moved.
Moved by Freeholder Owens, second by Freeholder Bobadilla. Questions, comments? No additional question, comments? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Freeholder Beasley, absent. Freeholder Bobadilla.
Yes.
Freeholder Clark, absent. Freeholder Gill.
Yes.
Freeholder Johnson.
Yes.
Freeholder Luciano, absent. Freeholder Owens.
Yes.
Freeholder Vice President Siebel, absent. Freeholder President Watson.
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, let's move to public comment session. Do we have anyone else from the public who would like to speak? At this time, please come to the microphone again and state your name and affiliation for the record. Speak a little louder for me.
Tuckey Hall.
Okay, continue. Did you get that? Very good. Continue.
It says education versus incarceration. It says more money must go to schools than to prisons before high crime neighborhoods can truly be returned. Since 1980, the U.S. prison population has grown exponentially, expanded from approximately 500,000 to 2.3 million people in just 3 decades. America now has the dubious distinction of leading the world in prison population. We account for 25% of all prisoners, but only 5% of the global population. Our penchant for punishment has come at a cost. We spend almost $70 billion annually to place adults in prisons and jails, to confine youth in detention centers, and to supervise 7.3 million individuals on probation and parole. Indeed, confinement costs have claimed an increasing share of state and local government spending. This trend has starved essential social programs, most notably education. Nearly 75% of imprisonment spending happens at the state level, where dollars are drawn from a general fund that is meant to pay for a range of public needs, including health care, housing, public assistance, and education. Whether we look back over the last 2 decades or just the last 2 years, education in particular has become a casualty of state budget battles. Analysis by the National Association of State Budget Officers show that elementary and high schools receive 73% of their state funding from this discretionary fund. Colleges and universities count on the fund for half of their budgets. However, $9 out of every $10 that support imprisonment come from the same pot of money. With tens of billions of dollars in prison spending annually, states are finding that there is simply less discretionary money available to invest in education, especially in these lean economic times. Indeed, as the economic downturn limited all state spending in the fiscal year 2008 and 2009, the share of general fund money going to incarceration grew as expenditures in every other category, save public assistance, declined. States still spend more of their general fund on dollars.
Excuse me, you have 30 seconds to complete your
General
comment.
fund on dollars on education than on incarceration, but the percentage of dollars being used for incarceration is increasing, while the percentage for education is decreasing. In 33 of 50 states,
Okay,
corrections-related costs made up a large portion of the general fund than in the previous fiscal year, while spending on K-12 and higher education decreased. The federal stimulus no doubt helped states find money to pay for both prisons and other basic state services as tax revenue eroded.
Okay, excuse me, I hate to, I have to let you know that your time is up.
I need a couple more minutes.
No, I can't.
No.
I gotta read one more last part.
The time is up, and we have 3 minutes for each speaker.
I need a few more minutes though.
3 minutes for each speaker. And thank you for your comments. Thank you. We'll go with the next person.
I need a few more minutes though.
Sir. Okay, thank you. And again, thanks for the comments.
Good evening.
Good evening. Your name and affiliation, please.
Wayne Richardson, President of Labor's Local 55. I also live just a few blocks away from Weequahic Park, and I hope that some of that money that you guys are talking about really goes to not just the kids' playground, and those things are very important. There is a flooding issue in Weequahic Park. When you enter Weequahic Park from Meeker Avenue, there's a flood. Whenever it rains, the roadway is covered. So maybe some of that money can be taken and looked at and used for that. Also, the rubberized track that goes around has some holes and spots in it where the rubber is missing. So I hope that some of that money can be allocated towards those specific issues with Weequahic Park. It's a lovely park. It just needs to be maintained a little better. And some of the brush routinely, as you go around the hills and you go around Weequahic Park on the rubberized track, a lot of times the brush is over onto the track. So those things need to be addressed and need to be maintained and cut back. So I hope those things will be addressed with that money that you have for these parks. So those specific things need to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you again for your comments. Do we have anyone else from the public who would like to speak? You've spoken already. You've had your time. Do I have anyone else other than the gentleman that's standing? Okay, we'll continue with the agenda. Madam Clerk, there's no one else wishing to speak at this time who have not spoken already with the 3 minutes. We'll go to other business freeholders. Oh, and Mr. Richardson, we will respond to you. Mr. Richardson? Yes. We will respond to you in writing. We normally don't respond while the resident is at the mic, and we will respond to you in writing within the week. And the gentleman is taking your name and address. Thank you. Okay, let's move to comments, freeholders, other business. No other business, then let me just give a report out to the questions that was asked at our last meeting. Freeholder Rufus Johnson asked the problems with the retaining wall in Wassessing Park will be covered by this contract. Memo sent 5-7, response 5-12. Freeholder Johnson asks that the administration take a look at flooding and catch basin issues on South Orange Avenue, Chancellor, Stuyvesant, Lyons, and Clinton Avenues. Memo sent 5-7, response 5-12. Freeholder Clark asks that Grove Street be looked at between Hoffman Boulevard and Main Street, and that she be informed of the finding. 5-7, response went out. We should have that in our package. 5-12. Freeholder Clark asked the administration to provide a compressed fact information sheet that explains the income requirement for people to qualify for the program in reference to Resolution 2324. Memo sent to the administration on the 7th. Response went out on the 12th. President Watson, Seabold, and Clark asked the administration to be sure Commissioner Superintendent Sumter and the vendor appear before the board at the May 21st meeting to explain why the contract came to the board at the last minute, for the vendor to provide specifics about the contract. Memo sent 5-7, response 5-12. Okay. Let me just ask a quick question. Did we say we were going to have follow-up with the vendor for this contract for next, when we vote on this? Ralph, do you remember? What did we say? Would we be asking for the vendor, the local vendor with the second contract?
I asked information about it, but not for the person to appear, just information about the contract.
Okay, I think that was the request at the last meeting, according to my report.
The only thing is that that vendor is not the vendor that this board will be voting on.
Okay, so we...
If the board so wishes, I can work with the clerk that we can arrange a conference call for those members who wish to have questions for the entity that's in Denver, Colorado. I will work with the clerk to arrange for a conference call for those freeholders that have some questions on that contract. But the local vendor is not before this board, and I don't see calling him in on this contract has anything to do with.
Right. Is that two separate contracts?
They're two separate contracts.
Oh, okay. We have two separate contracts.
One is the software license,
Yes.
and the other is the
The
actual,
repairs.
is the actual physical work on the machines,
Okay.
the actual hands-on.
All right, so then I don't think we need to have the, unless the freeholders advise me any different than what we've discussed so far, do we, that there's a need for the vendor to come before the board, since it's two separate incidents. Is there a need, freeholders? I need some comments. If not, then we will just move on the contract with the information that we have. If not, okay, then, Ralph, there would be no need to bring the vendor in.
Thank you.
Today, we had a beautiful, beautiful event, and we are going to just comments from the board. At the Veterans, the county exec had the unveiling of the statue for Sergeant George, what was George's name? Olivera. And it was simply beautiful. If you get a chance, just go in the park, at the Memorial Park, and view the statue. He was one of the sheriff departments that got killed in the war about 2 or 3 years ago. I thought it was longer than that, but I thought it was a shorter time, but it's been a while. But just take a chance, just take a look and go see the statue. It is simply beautiful. The dollars for the statue was raised by the sheriff department and a few other donors. But you would be very pleased to look at that park. The park is just simply beautiful. The Memorial Park, the Veterans Memorial Park, right out here.
Oh, right.
Right here. Okay, that's my comments for the day, the night. Comments, freeholders, any comments for the record? None? Ralph, you have any comments from the administration?
None, Madam President, thank you.
None? Very good. Okay, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion carried.